system, Krasnius was close to ending his career and looked forward to retirement in Mexico with his wife Frances. Daughter Elizabeth would not go on camera.
The days before the uprising, there was a lot of tension. Prisoners were getting out of hand. There were talks of riots. And he even said to my mother once, well, I don't even know if I'll be coming back or if I'll come home. And this was in the week before, August 21st.
About a day, maybe 2 days before it happened, you seem to grow an antenna. You know, you can sense something's happening when you're in prison. And you can sense the tension, you can sense incitement, because it's quiet. But you sense something's going on. Yeah, I figured something was happening. I didn't know what it was, but I knew something was about to go down.
No single name would become more important in the tragic events of that summer day than attorney Stephen Bingham. The 29-year-old Bingham was a graduate of Yale University, the law school at UC Berkeley, and once worked in the civil rights movement. On the morning of August 21st, Bingham had not planned on going to San Quentin. A last-minute phone call, however, changed his schedule. A Black Panther wanted Bingham to assist a legal investigator, Benita Anderson, in her visit with Jackson. Bingham was reluctant, but agreed.
She didn't know me from Adam. I mean, neither of us had met each other before.
After arriving at San Quentin at around 10 a.m., Bingham and Anderson had their personal belongings inspected by prison guards. But their visit with Jackson was denied by a lieutenant in charge. Bingham protested. At around 1 p.m., Warden Park returned from San Rafael. Park approved the visit. Established policy could not prevent it. Anderson, however, was not allowed in to see Jackson.
And then Officer Scarborough asked me, aren't you going to take the tape recorder in? And I said something like, well, I don't have one. And that was when Benita Anderson said that, well, you can take mine. And that was apparently what was inside the briefcase.
According to Bingham, once inside the visiting room, Jackson examined the draft of his second book. At Jackson's request, Bingham left the room to have Anderson review some papers. Sometime after 2 o'clock, the meeting came to an end. Bingham and Anderson signed out of the prison at 2:30 p.m. and departed for Berkeley.
Do you ever use the tape recorder?
No.
Do you ever pull it out of the attaché case?
No.
Do you ever transfer a gun to George Jackson?
No.
George Jackson was taken from the visiting area by Officer Frank DeLeon. DeLeon was 44 years old, stocky, and the married father of 5 children. When he arrived at the door of the adjustment center with Jackson, Sergeant Kenneth McRae allowed both men inside. McRae was 39 years old, married, and had 3 children. Guard Urbano Rubiaco was nearby. Rubiaco was 25 years old and had previously worked at Soledad's O Wing. According to Rubiaco, as he came face to face with Jackson, he noticed a shiny object in the inmate's hair.
And he says, you know, what's that in your hair, Jackson? And Jackson says, nothing. And the guard reaches up and he touches it and there's resistance. It feels like metal or something.
McRae looked up, saw something similar, and ordered Jackson to produce it.
A bullet clip falls to the floor, clatters to the floor. And they look at it and they're, what is that? I mean, how could this possibly be? And in the next instant, George Jackson reaches into his hair, pulls out the gun. He has another bullet clip in his hand. He slams the clip into the butt of the 9mm. He points it at the guards and he says, the dragon has come. And that begins what would become a bloodbath.
The bow is taut. It's a beautiful day to die.
With gun in hand, George Jackson was in control of the adjuster. He ordered guard Urbano Rubiaco to open the cell doors in the AC.
A guy stepped in front of my cell, a black guy, had said, "We're taking over, you coming out or staying in?" I told him, "Bust it open, I'm coming out."
Some 24 inmates were released.
They come running out, and then after that, it's just murder and mayhem.
What's going on is everyone here is trying to survive. That's what's going on.
George had said at some point, even before this, the point now is to construct a situation where someone else joins in the dying. In other words, if you're going to get me, I'm going to take some of you with me.
Do you see George with a gun?
At some point, yeah. After I was out of my cell for a while, yes.
I'm not sure which one it was, but I saw him getting strangled. I saw the guy kneeling on his back, and he had some kind of a cord, looked like from a radio or something. And he was gagging, kicking his feet. And the guy said, "This ain't getting it." And he went off to get a razor blade or something. He come back, that's when he started going off in his throat and strangling him. Another guy was with him. And the kicking of his feet was bothering me, you know, it was like little quick kicks. And so I walked around the other side. You know, I didn't want to watch it.
What happened was that the guards were hogtied with electrical cord from the radio systems in the cells, and then their throats were slashed with homemade blades made by putting razor blades on the end of toothbrush handles.
According to Johnny Spain, he remained in the area of the kitchen and foyer, not realizing that the inmate takeover had spiraled out of control.
Do you know who killed the guards?
No.
Do you know who assaulted the guards?
No.
Alan Mancino, however, saw more than he could ever have imagined.
The guards were groaning and grunting. They were urinating on themselves. And, you know, it was a mess, man. You know, it ain't like you see on TV. You know, it's not neat and nice. It's down and dirty.
Sergeant Kenneth McCrae was bleeding heavily.
McCrae ends up living to tell the tale and living through it miraculously, even though his throat was cut from ear to ear. And he's stacked up, and the other guards are piled up on top of him and alongside of him.
McCrae was laying next to fellow officer Paul Krasnes, who also had his throat slashed.
McCrae can hear gurgling noises and hearing him speak as if he was underwater. And he makes one last prayer. May the Lord have mercy on my soul, and dies.
Moments before guard Frank DeLeon was shot in the head, George Jackson was overheard saying, "It's time we found out if this piece really works." DeLeon's body slumped on top of McCrae. As Alan Mancino searched for a safe place, inmate Ronald Kane questioned what to do.
I said, "Man," I said, "you better get you something to work with." I said, "because we're next." You know, and I was talking to him. I was scared, but I knew what was going to happen. They tied him up and they cut his throat.